Hello and welcome back to ShameOver. I am so glad you're here, getting back into it for, I think this is my first one of 2025. So thank you for being here, for listening, for just spending this time to invest in yourself, to learn more about yourself and continue evolving, because that is what this whole thing is. So today I really want to focus on mindset. And yes, we know attitude is contagious. Our mindset is important, whatever. We know it's important, but we still don't necessarily pay attention to it all the time, right? It can be very easy for us to think that we have a good mindset, but how we're talking to ourselves in the background, how we're talking about ourselves, like little snippets that we say to other people, that is coming through a lot different than what we think. So I've heard a lot of people struggling recently, and whether this be just winter and we're ready to get back out, to be lively, to be in the warm weather, politically, I know people have been having a hard time. There's a lot going on internally and externally that it's making it a little bit of a difficult time. People are struggling. I get it. I am definitely there on several notes. What we need to focus on during this time, yes, of course, mindset is going to be a big part of this, but focus on going internal and seeing what we need. So often when we are feeling this overwhelm, when we're feeling this out of sorts, when we're depressed, when we're, all these more negative emotions, it ultimately comes down to control, knowing that we have no control over what's going on. And the longer that we're staying in that, where we are really focusing on state of the world sucks, I don't like what's going on here, I don't get a drink today. All of those things, not the drinking thing, that one you do have control over, but all of those things, it's the mindset. How are you talking about it? And asking yourselves, do I have control? So that's a perfect example. I don't have control about what's going on in my backyard, in my city, in my state, in my country. What you do have control over is if you're going to be drinking, right? So these are just little things we can ask ourselves. Do I have control over this? If so, what can I do? If not, what can I do? Right? If we don't have control over it, okay, focus on something else that you do have control over. Even if it has nothing to do with that, sometimes we just need to feel that sense of control, that sense of I matter, I'm important, I can make a difference. Because sometimes we just feel so like that is not the case that it starts crumbling in on ourselves, on our ego, on our self-esteem, on our confidence, on our worth. And that's when all these voices, the negative ones, keep coming in. So as you're going through these moments, you guys have probably heard me say, if you've listened to me before, I love to say wait. WAIT, wait. When you say wait, you are forcing yourself to pause. Subconsciously, when you hear wait, our body automatically, it knows what it means. It's like, oh, I need to pause a second. And then go a step further and say, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? Wait. When we ask ourselves this, it takes us not only away from what all is going on, but it puts us in the moment. It gets us present and makes us pause and just take a breath. Sometimes this is when we realize, like, I'm thinking about something that I have no control over, or I'm really upset by this. I don't know what to do about it. When we take a second to just pause and reflect and ask ourselves this simple question, so much is going to change. And especially when it comes to your drinking. And for those who are really focused on the drinking, you're probably going to see it come out in other areas, because when we're working on something, the habits got to go someplace, even when we're doing the work, but especially when we're not doing the work. Consumption's consumption. So when you're hyper focused on what you're drinking or not drinking, you're not as hyper focused on maybe how you're eating or what you're spending or how much time you're spending on social media or just on your phone in general. So as you're going through just life in general, realize that a lot of these, when we're working on something, the bad habits can start seeping into other areas, especially any form of consumption is going to seep into another form of consumption. But when we ask ourselves, wait, it's going to stop the seeping, it's going to stop the spread. I saw this firsthand when I was not drinking and pregnant and just having some stressful times and a lot of emotional things coming up. And I just kept wanting to eat, kept wanting to eat. And I was the kind, I tried every diet out there and whatever. So I saw this coming in very quickly, but I realized that it was in the moments that I could easily turn to alcohol, but I wasn't turning to alcohol. I couldn't, that was off the table for me. So instead it had turned into food. And then when I was hyper focused on the food, I noticed that I was spending more time on my phone and on social media, just mindlessly scrolling. Because consumption is consumption. When we're focused on an area and only hyper focused there, the mindlessness seeps into other areas until we can fix our mindset. And that can so quickly be done with the simple word, wait, what am I thinking? Dig into this. I have one client who I absolutely love. She cracks me up. And she's like, well, I'm thinking I want to drink. I'm like, yeah, no shit. We all have that thought. Like, but keep digging in and be your inner toddler. Sometimes we need that. And if you don't have that inner toddler, you can borrow one of mine. I promise they will help you with this. But really dig in. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking I want to drink. Okay, what are you thinking? I'm thinking I want to drink. I'm thinking I want to drink because I'm frustrated. I've had a bad day. I'm ready for the day to be over. It's a reward. I've made it through the week. Any of those. When we start asking ourselves what we're thinking, we're really digging into not only what we're thinking, but even more importantly, what we're feeling. Because we feel before we think. That's intuition. That is just how we're wired. So much of this is feelings going on before it's an actual thought. That's how our brain has been able to work for us so that it's not thinking all the time, or you know what I'm trying to say. So what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Having that quick second to say the word, make yourself pause, brings you back to the present. It makes you get intentional and mindful. And when we are consuming intentionally and mindfully, we do not overconsume. We don't, because it's intentional. Granted, if your whole purpose, you are intending to get drunk, then yeah, of course you're going to do that. But that's not what this is for. This is probably not going to help you because your mindset is in such a different way. There's no point. Coming back to mindset, the reason why mindset is so important, you could have all the tools in your disposal. If you don't have the right mindset, the tools are pointless. You might as well not have any because you're sure as hell not going to use them. Have you ever been in that situation where, you know, you've come up with a plan and you thought about it, you feel really prepared, then you go to the party, you go to dinner, you go to whatever, and change of plans, everything's so different than what you thought. And all of a sudden you're just like, I'm lost. And okay, yeah, I'll have that shot. Yeah, let's get a bottle. That is not being confident and consistent with our mindsets. And granted, we can't always get it right 100% of the time. So please, no, that is not expected of you. That is not required of you. It is impossible for you to do that. But when we have the mindset that, okay, plans have changed, but my mindset is I'm going to stick with my plan. And my plan was I'm having 2 tonight. I can decide what that looks like, but 2 is my limit, or 4 is my limit, or you choose that. I'm not here to tell you what to do. But when we can reconnect with that mindset, that is where the magic is. And again, all these tools at our disposal cannot be accessed if we don't have that mindset. If we're in the party mode mindset, you're not going to be thinking about starting later and alternating and ending earlier and seeing how long you can make it last. And you're not going to be doing that. You're going to be focused on one thing, and that is drinking as much as you can. Again, this is why the mindset is so crucial for us to work on and constantly check in with. And the simple word wait, or you can come up with your own. I love keywords. If you work with me at all, you will probably hear me tell you to come up with a keyword that helps, again, helps you get back to the moment, present, intentional, and just pause. For me, this kind of came from Meet the Fockers. I think it was Meet the Fockers. Maybe it was Meet the Parents, but anyway, maybe it was Meet the Parents. Anyway, so why am I spacing on his name? Anyway, the dad, his code word is muskrat, and that's like kind of for his family. But this got me thinking, like muskrat, I don't know why. I laugh. Whenever I hear it, I just muskrat, like it's not something that even if I'm in a horrible mood, it will still like kind of bring a smile to my face. So come up with a code word that is happy or lighthearted or fun or playful or something. And use this code word, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with a partner, a friend, it doesn't matter, your kids even. That one word means so much. You don't have to say anything else. My husband and I use this. Ours is Bambi, but we'll use this when we kind of need the other's attention, but we don't want to do so in a, hey, I need you to pay attention to me, you know, because as soon as you do that, like guards are up on both sides, puts one or both of you in a bad mood. That's not a win-win. A win-win is when one of us says Bambi, the other's like, oh, I'm sorry, like I'll put my phone away. You need my attention, you know, and it's a nice, gentle way of being like, hey, I need you for a second. The same thing applies here. When it comes to your mindset, when it comes to being intentional, coming up with the keyword that can really help do that for you is going to help. And the reason why I want it to be playful or fun or silly or something that brings a smile to your face is you're normally not using this in like a happy, carefree moment. You're normally using it when you might be stressed or it's harder for you to connect, or, you know, that makes it easier because it adds that playfulness, that it takes the edge off. And that is where it can be so incredible to see change. So with the mindset piece, the other thing that you can really focus on is asking yourself, what connection do I need? So much of our drinking has to do with connection. We feel, again, back to the, I don't feel in control. What do I need when I don't feel in control? I need to feel connected. Whether it's connected to someone else, whether it's connected to a bigger picture, whether it's connected to yourself. And a lot of times what we really need is the internal connection, but we're seeking it external. Again, that's what the alcohol's for. We're seeking external connection with the bottle, with the glass, with the can, with whatever you're having. Ask yourself, what do I need to connect with? And pause and listen for a second. And if it is like, I need to connect with that bottle. Why? What is it about it? And get curious and stay neutral and just be in the moment with the feelings, because again, we're just so often we need that connection, but we don't want to connect. It's sometimes connecting with ourselves is the hardest thing. That's why we can't deal with our emotions. We don't know how to connect with ourselves. It's scary, it's terrifying, it's intimidating. We've been dealing with so much all day long. The last thing we need is to deal with more. So yeah, I don't want to feel the feels. I get it. But you are here because, yeah, you might not want to feel the feels, but you also don't want to be drinking how you are. You want to drink less, but you want to have a healthy relationship with alcohol so you can drink. I know for me, I will never, even if I never drink alcohol again, which I don't see that ever being the case, but even if I don't, I will never label myself sober. I'm just never going to do it because that is finite, it is definite, and it is a permanent thing. Once you put a label on something, it's not supposed to change. I don't believe in that. As we're constantly evolving and growing and learning more about ourselves and hopefully becoming a better version of ourselves, that's going to change. Things are going to look different. I've worked with a lot of people that have come from AA, and obviously what I believe and what AA believes could not be more bipolar. But the people who are leaving AA looking at ways to be able to moderate, it's because they're in a different place than they were. AA might have worked for them for a period of time, and that's great, but they're ready to try something new. And we all deserve that for ourselves as far as being able to understand ourselves, grow, evolve, see what is best for us in the moment. And mind you, moderation is not for everyone. I will say all day long, there are plenty of people. A big reason why I'm even doing this, I do not believe that moderation is possible for that person. They have proved time and time and time again that when they drink, they can't stop at one or two. They might be able to for a day or two or a week, but that's it. Then it goes to a bottle, to 2 bottles, to more. If that's you, moderation is not for you, at least not right now. Things can change down the road, absolutely. But worry about where you are now and where you are today. And don't put a label on it. That is, to me, if you take nothing away, I think I say that every episode. If you take nothing away, this is the one thing. This will be the one thing that I would say. If you take nothing away, this is it. Do not label yourself. Unless you're going to say, I am a master moderator and I can moderate everything that I need to. Great, I'll let you do that. Besides that, don't. As soon as you put a label on it, it makes it that much harder to change. That is why even putting labels on our kids. I mean, I'm doing a lot of work trying to be a better parent and just trying to understand myself better. And what the people who I really connect with when it comes to what I'm learning parenting wise, they agree with me as far as do not put a label on your kid. Don't label your kid shy, because once you start calling your kid shy, they believe that they're shy. And what we tell our brains, what we say out loud, what we think to ourselves, our brain's gonna believe. So stop labeling. Again, unless it's something that's really empowering to you, great. But again, with the sobriety thing, I've seen, especially people who do come from AA, the biggest thing that they're really starting to try to understand and figure out and get beyond is the shame piece, because they have been conditioned that alcohol is bad, alcohol is evil. Once you have a problem, you will always have a problem. You are powerless, all of these things. Any parents out there, I'm assuming you've told your kids they are powerful. They can do anything they put their mind to. As soon as you say you are powerless, you're taking all of that away. And your kids learn from you. They learn from what you do, not from what you say. So if you are going to be anything, be powerful, be empowered. Know that drinking is a choice. It is your choice. You can choose to drink, you can choose to not drink. You can choose to keep drinking, and you can choose to drink too much. It is still a choice. Yes, after a certain point, that is alcohol completely taking over and doing its job. Am I saying alcohol is good for you? No. Am I saying it's healthy? No. Do I know the risks associated with alcohol? Yes. If you don't, I plan to do more on it. Highly recommend you look into it. The more I learn, the less I want to consume it. That being said, I still want to consume it from time to time, and that's okay. But again, it is my choice. And I am at a point, because of all the work that I've done, that I know that I can stop when I want to stop. I drink when I want to drink. I don't very seldomly think about it. I don't expect it now for any occasion. I don't rely on it. It is simply there. If I decide to take it, great. If I don't, great. It's kind of like how I have gotten with certain desserts. There are certain desserts that I can totally take or leave, or maybe have a bite and that's it. Or, food or whatever you want to take. Not advice, because that's very separate, but what is something that you can easily take it or leave it? Figure out what that is for you. If it's, I wouldn't say coffee for me. I love coffee. I love the smell of it. I love the taste. I can drink it black all day long. I love coffee. Certain teas I can take or leave. I feel like desserts are a good one. Cheesecake. That's advice for me. Cannot pass up cheesecake. I love cheesecake. Cake in general, I can take or leave it. If it's really good, I might have a bite or two. Very seldomly do I eat the piece of cake from like a birthday party or something. I don't like cake. Figure out what this is for you and what it is about it, and see how you can approach alcohol the same way. And yes, alcohol does it's different. It does impair your decision making, impair it, pretty much everything. So it is different on that note, but consumption is consumption, and you can see why it works for you in this area and not in the other area, and start figuring out how you can adapt to make the areas more in alignment. So for me, I just have never really loved cake, and I finally got to a point to where I was just like, I'm eating it just because it's in front of me. Like, I'm not really enjoying it. And being someone who struggled with my weight pretty much ever since high school, thanks puberty, it's something that I've been very conscious of. Like, if I'm gonna eat it, I want to really enjoy it now. So for me, I'm like, it's easy for me to say no to cake. And my husband loves cake. So we get 2 pieces of cake. I have a bite. He has the rest. We're good. He loves cake. We're good. I am mindful when it comes to cake. If I'm going to have a bite, I'm going to really enjoy it. And if I don't like it, I'm absolutely not having another. But if I do enjoy it, I might have a couple more bites. It depends. But I'm mindful. I'm intentional. I'm making it an experience. I'm enjoying the flavor. I'm seeing what I taste, what I like, if I want it, if I don't. I ask myself these questions. So much of alcohol consumption is just habitual, mindless behavior. I know for me that was it, especially thanks to the lovely habits that were developed during COVID, because we weren't going anywhere. We weren't having to deal with the typical schedule, the typical social life, like everything was different. And my husband and I are very lucky. We have a great relationship. We're happy people. We don't fight. And especially when we're drinking, we're not like those kind of drinkers. So it was never like a bad thing. It was just fun. It was easy. It was, but then it became like a habitual thing that I was having at least a glass of wine, if not two, every day. And I just realized I did not want to wait for my relationships to get impacted. I did not want to wait for it to start impacting physically my health, my emotional health, my mental health, my any of that. I didn't want to wait till I was put in a bad position or put someone else in a bad position. Why do we feel like we have to wait for rock bottom? And on that note, a lot of times people need rock bottom. They don't just have rock bottom, because they'll say, well, that could have been my rock bottom, but it wasn't. That could have been my rock bottom, but it wasn't. Why wait? I'm hoping that that's why you're here, is you don't ever want to be close enough to where you have a rock bottom moment. You don't want it to be impairing your relationships, your career, your marriage, your life with your kids, how you're raising your kids, how you're showing up for them. And believe me, parenting without booze is challenging. But parenting with booze is challenging too. You're just not showing up as your best self, and you're an asshole the next day because you feel like shit because you drink too much, right? I know I definitely was there. So again, all of this really comes down to the mindset that you have, and how can we work on being intentional, being present, being in the moment. And you can't do it every single time. I get that. I'm not asking that of you. It's not realistic. It's literally not possible. But what you can do is you can start seeing the conversations that you're having with yourself, seeing the conversations that you're having about yourself. When it comes to your mindset around drinking or not drinking, anyone that's coming off of dry or dryest January, how has your mindset been? Was your thought like, yes, I get a drink again? If so, I would definitely put a pause on it. If your mindset was awesome, what have I learned and how can I keep this going forward? Like, this is just getting me started. You are gonna rock it. Listen to how you talk about yourself and how you talk about alcohol. If alcohol is only seen as a reward and not drinking as punishment, that's where you start. If you say, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I'm horrible. I did this again. I can't believe I drank. Why do I have a problem? If that's how you're talking to yourself, that's where you start. Change everything to the positive. Get curious. If you can, put on your little scientist hat, goggles, whatever you want, whatever makes you think of being a scientist, and just continue to get curious, because curiosity is where we learn. That is where we grow, and that is where we evolve. And I know you're here, you're listening because that is what you want to do. You want to be a better self. You want to understand why you drink, when you drink, and what it is that you're searching for. But with that comes a lot of work, a lot of feelings, a lot of messiness that we haven't had to touch. So there's going to be tough times. There's going to be steps backwards. There might be leaps backwards. The biggest thing is getting back on track. And again, full circle. If you want to get back on track, it all comes down to your mindset. If you focus on the positive, you're going to keep doing that. And when you have the steps back, you're going to be able to get back on and get back on quicker. One thing I'll kind of leave you with, Super Bowl was this past weekend, and obviously, whether you're a football fan or not, you, I'm sure, are aware of the Super Bowl. I mean, even everyone around the world knows of our Super Bowl. You have some, quote unquote, the two best teams in football playing each other. These are guys who have been working their ass off, not only all week, not only all season, they have been working since, most of them, elementary school to get to where they are that day. It doesn't mean that they showed up every day or had a perfect day or whatever, but they were working to get to that moment. There was one player that I saw, he had lost his, I want to say it was like his high school state championship in the same stadium. And he was sitting there just so emotional on the field because he had lost the state championship there, which probably felt like the most heart-wrenching loss ever, and was sitting there after having just won the Super Bowl. Like, that's insane. The reason why I bring this up, Kansas City Chiefs, whether you love them, hate them, I don't care. They have been working so hard. The past 5 out of 6 seasons they've been to the Super Bowl, something along those lines. Please don't quote me. I love sports, but I'm not great on stats. They have been relentless with it. They, all week long, I guarantee they were eating well. They weren't drinking. They were making sure they got their sleep. They were training. They were doing everything. And they just didn't have it. Not only did the Eagles outplay them, they destroyed them. Like, it was probably one of the worst games. Oh, it just wasn't fun to watch. All I care about is good sports, good games. It wasn't. It was not fun. It was not fun to watch. I know it was not fun for them to play. That does not diminish all of the work that they put in. And guess what? After they're coming down from this little, well, that sucked. They're going to be coming back hungrier than ever come next season. And probably starting next week. Some of them even today. Because they know that that one game does not define everything for them. It was a moment, it was a big moment for them. So, for the Eagles, it was a great moment. For the Chiefs, not so much. But they still are one of 2 teams that got there. And the reason why I bring this up is what we practice, we get good at. They are elite athletes because they have been practicing and practicing and practicing. Some of us got pro in drinking, plain and simple. We did. Now we have to practice moderation. The only way that you can get good at moderating is by practicing. The only way that you can get good at handling stress and handling your triggers and even knowing what those are and being able to deal with them is by practicing without drinking, practicing feeling those feelings, practicing asking yourselves these questions and going deep and questioning your mindset, questioning what you're thinking and feeling. That does not mean you're going to show up every day. That does not mean you're going to win every day. That does not mean that you're not going to have a bad day, a bad week, a slump. The important thing is that you keep showing up and that you keep practicing. So with that, if you are at a point to where, whether you did dry January or driest January or not, if you got into February, like time to party, it's okay. Today is a new day. All of that does not go to the wayside. Today is a new day. What can you do to get back on the path where you want to be. I like it calling it your 2.0. Who are you working toward? Who do you want to be? And what can you do to channel what that person is, what they're thinking, how they live as your future self? That is all with your mindset. So with that, I hope this was helpful. Please, 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 if you did find it helpful, like, subscribe, share, comment, all the things. It's the only way that, I can help more people. So if you're listening, leaving a review would be huge. I actually have never asked for them before. I don't have them yet. So if you want to be my first, obviously assuming that you want to give me 5 stars. If not, then please just don't leave a review, But I am here to help however I can. Please go to shameover.me if there is any way I can help you transform your relationship with alcohol and most of all with yourself. Because at the end of the day, drinking is not as much about drinking as you think it is. So focus on your mindset, use that as your practice for this week, and always do so in a kind, compassionate, loving way. With that, that's all I got. See you next time. Cheers.